Well, all know what we talk about here. What they call non-duality in the Hindu tradition, Advaita. What Advaita means, non-duality, not two, one without a second. There's only one essence, one intelligence energy, one being, functioning, patterning, shaping, forming, expressing as everything. And you are that already. There's no path to go on. I think we're on a spiritual path, trying to become something which we haven't recognised that we already are. They call it, in Hinduism, Satchitananda Namarupa. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness, Ananda is loving to be, or the bliss of being. The Namarupa, body, mind, are the names and forms we put on it. They say Namarupa, body, mind, is Maya, illusion. And it's all the one essence. It's not only in Hinduism is it expressed, but most of the other traditions express it too. The Hebrews say, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one God. There is nothing other." The Muslims say there is no God but God. Allah is his name. And Isaiah says, "Be still and know that I am is God." So they're all pointing it out, but we've taken on the idea, when we learnt words, that we are these separate entities. We are these persons or individuals. And we think that this God is a higher or greater presence or being than what we are. So we've got to try and become that, recognise it. But to look into that even. In Buddhism they call it a cognising emptiness. Not that we cognise the emptiness, but it's the emptiness that's doing the cognising or knowing. And they make the statement that emptiness is form. The Buddha said emptiness is form. And he turned it around the other way and said the forms can be nothing other than the emptiness. So you and I and everything else in this manifestation are forms, shapes and forms, patterns, shapes and forms. And the great mantra is, I am that. And if I am that, realise that you already recognise and know that. Because you say, that's the chair I'm sitting in, that's the room the chair's in, that's the space in the room, that's the tree, that's the flower. Everything is that. The terms or labels we put on them are all that. And that is the one essence appearing, patterning, shaping, forming, and expressing as everything. And that's what needs to be recognised. That I am that. I think it was Moses on the mountain looking after the Jewish people, and the Jewish people were playing up a bit, had no rules to go by, and fighting with one another and unhappy. And Moses pondered on this, and the tablets came to him, the 10 Commandments. And he thought, well, if I tell people about this, they can live in a more orderly fashion. And so he said, got these tablets with the 10 Commandments. And he says, I'll tell them about this. But he says, they're not going to listen to me. What can I say? I'll have to tell them that they came from somewhere. Who shall I say sent me? And the inner voice, the intuitive voice, said, tell them I am sent you. I am. And he realised, I am that I am. That I am, or the sense of presence, is what I really am. Not the body, the person, or the mind, but the sense of presence. And each one of us knows, I am. And instead of staying with the I am, we put the label on it. I am Bob, or I am Bill, or I am Jane, or whatever the label was. I've got whatever the name's been given me. And so that sense of separation has come upon me. And the belief in the separation. And that's the cause of all our problems. For it's only this believed in I or me that can be unhappy. It's only me that can be fearful, anxious, full of self-pity, resentful. So me is the cause of all my psychological problems. But what is this I or me? We take it to believe it's this pattern, shape and form, this person, this body, mind. Well, where does that word person come from? It comes from persona, the ancient Latin, persona, the mask, meaning we've got a conceptual image of what we believe ourselves to be. And look at it, see. When we say, I am Bob or I am Jane, you got this mental image about yourself. And this mental image is based on past events, conditions and experiences. It's not what is right now. And if you have a look at it, and if you ask yourself what's wrong with right now, if I don't think about it, or without a thought what you can say about yourself. You can't say it's good, you can't say it's bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, good or bad. Anything at all about it. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Now you need to question that. Am I this body? Am I this mind? Am I this person? And innately you know you're not the body. Because you say my body, my mind. Don't you say my coat, my car, my house. Are you the coat? Are you the car? Are you the house? You know you're not the car, the coat over there. So maybe you're not the body either. When you question it, look at it, what's this body made up of? You realise the body made up of elements. Air, earth, fire, water, space. See if you can separate yourself from those elements. Take the air out of your body, see how long it lasts. Take the water, your body's 60% water. Get off the earth if you can. Stop breathing, stop heart beating. Get out of space. When you investigate, you see you can't separate yourself from those elements. And all those elements can be broken down to subatomic particles into pure energy. So this body is nothing but a vibrating pattern of intelligence energy. The way it patterns and expresses implies it's suffused with intelligence, a knowing that you are. But the body doesn't stand up to that investigation when you investigate it. What about this thing called mind? Can you show me your mind? Innately again you say, my mind. Just to say my coat, my car and my house. What is mind? When you look into it, mind is nothing but thought. And if you were a thought, which particular thought would you be? Well, you'd be that I am thought, wouldn't you? And if that you were that I am thought, you'd be frightened of losing it. Yet you gladly give it up every night when you go to sleep. Gladly give it away. So you are not the thought. So if you're not the body, or not the mind, what must you be? Well, as I said, translated as Sat Chit Ananda, Sat is existence. Are you existing right now? Of course you are. Consciousness. Are you conscious right now? Yes, you're conscious. Are you unaware? No, you're not unaware, so you must be aware. You're happy to be. Well, you don't want to be dead right now, do you? So you are already that. Existence, consciousness, loving to be, or being, knowing and loving to be. So recognise that and realise you didn't have any thoughts till you were about 2.5 years of age. You weren't born with any thoughts. That's why you can't remember your birth. You say, I was born, but you can't remember your birth. And that thought, I am, didn't come on till you were about 2.5, or around about that age when the capacity of reasoning developed. And you learnt words, and you went to school and learnt more words, but realised that the word's not the thing. Take the word water. Is the word water water? Can you drink the word? Can you swim in the word? Can you wash in it or drown in it? You can't. Can you cook with the word fire? Heat yourself or burn yourself with the word fire? What's this word I or me? It's just a thought or a word. What's a thought? Isn't it a sound? A word? All thoughts are sounds, words. Vibrations. Energy. So it's all energy. And this body broken down into the elements, all those elements are broken down into subatomic particles. So the body is nothing but energy. And doesn't Einstein tell you that it's all, everything can be broken down into pure energy? That is what you are in everything else. The one essence, patterning, shaping, forming, experiences, expressing as everything. But we've got the sense of separation we believed in and taken it to be real. And that's what causes our psychological suffering. For it's only me can be fearful. Only me that can be anxious. Only me that can be unhappy or depressed, jealous or envious. Me is the cause of all that psychological suffering. And the effects are the anxiety, the fear, the depression, the guilt. And that's cause and effect. That's what they call karma, cause and effect. What happens if I investigate the cause, me, and see it's just a pattern, a thought, an idea? And if I ask myself the question, can there be an effect if I'm not relating to a cause? Well, if you're not relating to a cause, how can there be any effect? And the cause is the believed in me, the separate entity, the individual. When it's investigated, we see that the false cannot stand up to investigation. And the call is, know the truth, cat, and the truth will set you free. And that's what Christ told you, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. People thought he was talking about himself. He wasn't, he was talking about that sense of presence, which translates the thought I am. That's the way, that's the truth, that's the life. And you are that. You are that life, or pure being, that awareness of being that's with you right now. That's what needs to be recognised. And that's what needs to be stabilised or established in. That sense of presence. The being, knowing, loving to be. And it's just a matter of a little bit of investigation, a little bit of deliberation, and a little bit of focusing on it and looking into it and seeing for yourself. You know that you are, and that knowingness expresses as the primary thought, I am. But that I am, the thought, is not it. But the knowing, being, and loving to be is it. Not personal, the absolute. They call it in the scriptures absolute. What can you add to the absolute? Nothing whatsoever. It wouldn't be absolute if you gave anything to it. And what can you take away from the absolute? Nothing. It wouldn't be absolute. Or the Buddhists call it the great perfection. Perfection is the same as the absolute. You can't add anything to the perfecting. You can't take anything away from the perfect. And they give it to you there in one sentence. The great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. Nobody is unaware right now. Test it out and see for yourself. Am I unaware? You must realise, no. I'm aware. I'm knowing that I am. So be what you are. Not we've taken ourselves to be. We've taken on this belief we're a separate entity, an individual, and focusing from that. And most of the manifestation, or the human manifestation, is taking on that belief. And down through these ages, everybody's come into the world when they learnt words as that believed in entity. But there's also been a few that have resonated with it, recognised it, and passed it on to others. And those others have recognised it and realised it, and continue to pass it on. And in the old days, there were very few that could recognise it, because they didn't have the means of communication. There might be only one or two in a village that would know it and pass it on, and not everybody would want to hear it. Just the same as not everybody today wants to hear it. We've all got this belief that we are these persons, these human beings. And taken the belief we are this human being. And we get locked into this conceptualization, and we're creating all sorts of problems for ourselves. But in the recognition that I am already that, there can come the freedom, peace, and joy of the true knowing. Which I am. And everyone in this room can say, I am. But you might put the conceptual labels on it this time, but there's a few here that have recognised it and seen through it. Others who have had taste of it and continue to investigate, because that's another thing they tell you. The false cannot stand up to investigation. And the saying is, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And the truth is investigating the false and seeing it, and you'll soon see it if you investigate it. So you recognise already so many things that turned out to be not as they appear to be. People thought this earth was flat at one stage. When you looked out with the sea and the sky meet, it looked as though the sun disappeared and dropped into the sea over the horizon. But nobody could believe it in a day because they've investigated. And you go down to the ocean, I ask you to get me a bucket of blue water out of the sea, you'd say, don't be ridiculous, because you know the water's not blue, but it still appears to be blue. So the sky's not blue, the water's not blue, the space has got no centre to it, no space we can say it begins, no boundaries to it, we can say it ends. But you can't postulate or think of anything that would be outside of space. What would it be in? It would have to be space. Now the space around you that you're sitting in, you can't see it. If it wasn't for the things that appear in it, you wouldn't know it was there. It's got no boundary on it, no beginning or end. So space is no thing. And there's nothing you can postulate or think about that could be outside of space. What would it be in? It'd have to be in space. Space is no thing. Can something come from no thing? It can't. So you and I and everything else are really no thing, appearing in space, or seemingly so. They call it space-like awareness. Space, they call this manifestation too a phenomenal manifestation. Look in your dictionary, what's the definition of phenomena? That which appears to be. So this manifestation is appearance only. It's only appearing to be so. And I tell you this, Shakespeare told you there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And we think that it is so. And you can't say it's good, bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, without a thought. And what's your next thought going to be? You can't tell me what your next thought's going to be. But you say, oh, I think. As soon as you say, oh, I think, what have you done? You've formed a subject, a thinker. A thinker that's thinking this thought, whatever the thought might be. And the thought that comes up becomes the object. So the thought I think is the subject, and the thought itself becomes the object. So thinking has been divided into subject-object. But ask the question, can there be a thinker without thinking? A subject. Can there be a subject without thinking? And can there be the thought or object without thinking? So subject-object are concepts, thoughts. What's the actual? The actual is the functioning, the thinking. And Shakespeare tells you that nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And you can't tell me what your next thought is. A thought will come up. And Nisargadatta tells you that nothing can trouble you excepting your own imagination. Break that word imagination down to imagine or imagine, and realise that's what we're doing. We're creating mental images. Take them to be real. The trees are mental images, conceptual images. The objects in the thing are all images. All mental images. But something cannot come from no thing. So they're all fictitious, not real. And Nisargadatta tells you also, realise you are dreaming a dream you call the world. And he said, stop looking for ways out. The dream is not your concern. Your concern is you love one part of the dream and not the other. He says, love all of it or none of it, and the rest will be done for you by the same life essence that brought you into existence, that's breathing you right now, beating your heart, growing your hair in your fingernails, digesting your thought, digesting your food, making the thoughts to come up, to happen, that's doing everything. And you are already that life, that essence, taken on the concept or belief that we are these human beings. And that's the dream we dream. You go to bed, sleep at night, and you dream a dream. A dream comes up. In that dream you can be in the hills, in the mountains, on a boat, in the air, anywhere at all. All sorts of things can be happening. Coming and going, disappearing. You wake up in the morning, what happens to the dream? It disappears. And all those things that seemed very real, they disappear also. But what you don't realise is you wake up to this dream. This is the waking dream. Because this dream continues every morning from where you left off the night before. And it continues, and the hills, the mountains, the rivers, and everything is still there. It hasn't disappeared. Because in that dream you dreamed last night, when you wake up in the morning, you realise your body hadn't moved off the bed and no words had come out of your mouth. Nothing had really happened. But this dream is continuing on and continues to go on. So in recognising it and registering that and knowing the truth, and the scriptural saying is know the truth and the truth will set you free. What are you free from? You're free from this belief that you are this person, you are this body-mind, you are this separate entity. What's the definition of belief? We believe this and believe that and believe all sorts of other things. When you question your beliefs, when you look at the definition of belief, The definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Acceptance of an alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. Put your beliefs to that test, and if they're not true, they won't stand up to that investigation. Like you recognise the earth is not flat, the water is not blue, Santa Claus is not real, and lots of other things you've come to believe when you've taken it, investigated and looked into. And the old scripture saying is, know the truth. Don't believe anymore, but recognise and know the truth. And the truth will set you free. What do you need to be free from? Free from these concepts of belief. Now it's up to each and every one of you. If what we say here resonates, something innately resonates with you, and you know or recognise there's something about this that I jowl with or recognise. And that means you've already had a taste of it when you resonate. And looking into it and investigating, it doesn't take long to recognise and see and know the truth. And break the old beliefs, the old habits, and establish yourself in the Sat Chit Ananda, the being, knowing, loving to be. And as Jerome Das called you years ago, he said, be what you are. Don't believe what you're not. And that's the problem, we're believing what we're not. But know the truth. Believe what you are, and the truth will set you free. That's what we point out. And we know that there's quite a few of them here who already recognise this. And they might say it in a different way to what I say it, and you might understand them better. And some of you might be just launching into it and have questions. Don't hesitate to ask the question, because it's only you that can do it. Nobody, no matter what you believe, can do it for you. Nobody can tell you what you already are, because there is nobody other than what you are. You are that, and don't forget it. So Kat can take over and add a bit more to it, and then she'll get it. Ask for questions or your version of it, but settle into it.
I'll just say again, warm welcome, especially for those who are first time with us. And we have 28 people online who are with us, and they send the welcome and loving good morning messages to us and all of you. And we have one question from a Sharon. I don't know, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrongly. She says, hello from East Coast. My first time I have read Bob's book, loved it. I'm still very addicted to my victim story. So many labels: autism, trauma, CPTSD, abuse, disability, anxiety, etc. So much pain attached to the labels, but not yet able to drop them. I understand everything in theory, decades of reading, seeking, studying, head full of knowledge, but lacking lived experience, if that makes sense. Would you like to answer that?
What was it again?
I'll read it to... maybe you should put your hearing aid.
Yeah.
No, we need to hear it again, Bob, so don't you worry.
Yes.
We're on to this.
Yes, it was basically a statement of persistent suffering. Mm-hmm. You know, she's still in pain, she's still suffering. She knows all the concepts, but there is still disability, autism, CPTSD, abuse, all that darkness inside. And obviously, the more we dig into the darkness, the more the darkness will come up. The more we look into that heavy, because I don't know, have you ever met anyone who didn't suffer? Who hasn't been abused in one way or another, physically or emotionally? Who has everything perfect about themselves? I mean, I've seen people who were models, who were absolutely stunning, and they were anorexic. They hated their bodies. And I've seen people who have been or have not been physically or emotionally abused, but in their subjective experience, they suffered as badly. So yes, when we focus on our pain, when we focus on our suffering, and when we dig deeper, well, I'll paraphrase, because yesterday we've been on the event which we only show up once a year apart from COVID. This is Old Timers AA meeting, where there was over 130 people, and only people with really long time in sobriety were able to share. And those people were really very, very clear in what the AA book says. Alcohol is not the problem. The self-centeredness, self-will, and self-obsession, that is what we suffer of. Alcohol is a solution, kind of. It is not sustainable. Or drugs, or therapy, and even that, or shopping, sex, anything that medicates that deep-rooted suffering comes really from focusing. And this is beautiful, Tracy Lewis, what you say. You actually addicted, you're still very addicted to your victim story, so you are very aware, you are very conscious of that habit of attention to go and engage with that self-obsession. And that is a wonderful, wonderful start. To be clear that this attention constantly focus on me, poor me, I'm sick, I'm autistic, I'm abused, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Anyone who would want to look into this, they will find the confirmation bias, psychological phenomenon, will always make you find people who suffer as much or more. The question is, now you know, you see that attention habit moving to the victim story. So that is a wonderful beginning. See how often it goes there. See how deeply it engages with it. Because when you monitor it from the observer perspective, you're learning about that habit of the self-obsession. Because yes, absolutely, it is very, very sad to have that past. And that past, that conditioning, does modify your responses to the world. It does put you in a place where you predominantly, just like every other animal who is abused, will react in anxious way. And it is not something that we brush over and say, that's bullshit, we don't think about it. No, we acknowledge that. But now see to which extent it actually modified your experience of the world. If you learn about that pattern, you learn about that filter which modified the way you see the world, the place from which you're learning about it is beyond the pattern, is from the pure open field of consciousness when you look at that habit. And that's a place of liberation, that's a place from beyond suffering. When you are curious about how often does it come, oh yeah, I'm not good enough, because I'm sick, because I'm disabled, because I'm autistic, because I've been abused. How often does it come? How strong does it come? Be curious, have that childlike curiosity about it. And with that attitude, it becomes impersonal. And when it is impersonal, it loses the power to hurt you, to sting. When you look at that pattern the same way you look at the pattern of being attracted to certain foods or smells, oh yeah, this body is following its, and now this body, this attention is following this. It's an adventure. It suddenly becomes fascinating. And again, thank you for coming up and being honest, and thank you for putting it out there. And because that takes guts, that takes vulnerability, and that takes maturity. So really, thank you. It is beautiful to have that level of honesty, to admit that there is an addiction of the victim story. And you are not. It's just the attention. You are not. You free. You innocent. You total. You pure. You may not know it, but that's the fact. As Bob says, you are already that. You want to say something?
I'm a bit dizzy.
You're a bit dizzy. Oh, he didn't sleep very well. We had this event last night. We came back very, very late. Can I help you in any way? You want a water?
Keep yakking.
Keep yakking. Yes, I would like others to. I would like others to yak as well. Oh, please, Kavisha, can you give Kavisha a mic just in time?
Yes. I just was reminded of Byron Katie, who says, "What if we are not our story?"
Yeah.
That's all. Simple. What if we're not our story? That's the question to ask, which is really profound.
I love Byron Katie.
Yeah. Did you want to say something, Andy?
Tony wanted to
I better say something with the mic, hey? Yeah, well, getting sucked into your own narrative in a way as though that's not being dismissal at all, because it seems like it's really real, but it is part of the illusion when you get attached to a narrative as though it's like a belief thing, and that becomes the problem, this attachment to a narrative. And the whole point of the these meetings and non-duality is to start creating space from a narrative, narrative of self, any kind of narrative, and that loosening of attachment gives the sensation of spaciousness where you've actually gone to the source of problems. When you're experiencing that spaciousness, you start experiencing non-duality, where there's only one, there's only consciousness, and the reality and the grip of the narrative starts to drop away. So that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, nice to share that here. You come here.
Thank you.
Cheers, thanks. Might be blanking a bit here, but I was just sitting with like how the negative thoughts come in and sort of, bring you down. And then I was just noticing if they were let go, then how I would just relax, my body would relax, and I would come out of this tense upright torso moving away mode, and suddenly there was an expansion that made me feel like all the resources I needed to survive were there. And then I started to notice that when I was in that alert, tense mode, that was my addiction moment. So whenever if I had a thought, when I went to write it down, I was in tense mode. Everything was blocked off while I was doing my task. So every kind of work activity, every task that I felt I have to do well in order to not be kicked out of the tribe and to survive, so I started to notice all the things that were in tense mode and which things were in release mode. So tense mode was saving the page on the computer constantly. Tense mode was being fearful to come back to the task in case I couldn't remember it or I wouldn't know the procedure, so I would be kicked out of the tribe. Tense mode was working out the training timetables, which are easy and fun, but it was addiction mode as well. So I just noticed all those times my body would just in a total tension, and that was just, and I was calling it distraction. So it was distraction from just being there, receiving whatever was there. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's really practical.
Jaina?
Yes, my question really is related to something one of these ladies said about the Byron Katie statement.
What if I'm not my story?
Yeah. What if I'm not my story? How does one attach from that story?
Attach or detach?
Sorry, detach, yeah. How does one detach from that story?
No, you're not the story.
You
Yeah.
recognize.
How does one know you're not the story?
Feel.
Hmm?
Feel. Try feeling. Ask the question and feel. You don't think about the. My experience is not to think there's a right answer or a wrong answer. Ask the question and then feel. What's the sensation in the body? What if you were not your story?
And let go of the thought at the same
And just,
Mm.
you just feel, what if I'm not my story? What's there?
In Bob's words, you could say, "What's wrong with right now if I don't think about it?"
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or who is it happening to?
Yeah.
Or who's it happening to? Yeah.
But
it's And then so the answer is me. The answer is me, and that me that you think you are, or that me that has a story, is only a thought. And that thought appears upon that presence that you are.
Yeah.
And so that thought, which starts, as Bob said, with the cause, which is the me, have a look at that. Where is that me? See if you can find it.
Yeah.
You know, breathe. See if you can find the point where it starts and the point where it ends.
Yeah.
And if you really investigate, you'll see it isn't there.
Yeah, but it's not really a conscious acknowledgement. It's just a sensation that you're
Take the
so
mic, Gina.
habituated with.
Here, Gina.
One is so this one is so habituated to who I believe I am because of my history and all the dramas and stuff that's all stuck in the background somewhere. And that's like almost like living its independent existence at a subconscious level, but I sense it every day. And so it sort of almost unconsciously reminds me of who I believe I am.
Yeah.
And what I'm asking is, how does one detach from that
Recognition.
coming forward all the time
Yeah.
and reminding me of who I am?
Practice.
Practice what though?
Recognition.
Question your belief.
Question your beliefs. Yeah.
And
See-
can you talk about what a belief is, Bob?
An unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Means you haven't looked at that.
Yeah, but what if you've got facts backing up
Only when you think about it. Facts are not there when
Yeah.
you are in your heart. Facts
Yeah.
are only there when you are in your head.
Yeah.
When you're obsessing,
Yeah.
thinking. See, when you're in that mode of, this is all about me, the whole world is about me, I'm the center of the universe, this is important, this is personal. When you actually land in that place of being, in your heart, and you look around and you hear things, and you see things, and you touch things, you feel your body, you're existing fully.
Yeah.
Not just rolling in your head, but you are fully embodying that moment. You are engaging with seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. You are here.
Yeah.
Instead of going to the past story.
Yeah.
In this moment, you are awake. When you are fully present,
Yeah.
you are awake. And
Yeah.
this is the moment of recognition, because right now you know, this is the reality. I'm awake now. And there's, but this happened to me, that happened to me, and this and that and that. This is only happening
Well, it's
in
not
the
even-
daydream.
Yeah, it's not even that. There's not even a talk. There's just a pervading sense of that identity hovering around somewhere in the back of my mind, if you like.
Exactly.
You're aware of it.
Hang on,
Aware
hang on.
of it, yeah, I suppose so.
Sorry.
If you're aware of it, it's an object.
Okay.
Yes, it's beautifully said.
So how do I
You keep being aware of it.
un-object it?
You keep being aware of it.
Oh, okay.
When-
that was it.
Yes.
Something the advice you gave to the person who's online.
Yes,
You said
stay
quite
aware of
succinctly.
it.
That's it.
Because then you perceive it as an object somewhere in the background. As you say,
So
identity is
objectify it.
hovering somewhere around in the background.
Okay.
This is not who I am in the heart.
Yeah.
It is some sort of a mask or the costume or some sort of a
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you get me.
beautiful.
Right, got
Beautiful.
And also, just if I could just say,
Please.
you. Thank you.
that hovering thing that you imagine yourself to be in the background can only live in the memory.
Yeah.
So it can only live in the memory. It can't live right now. So the pointer that is the pointer beyond all pointers is what's wrong with right now if you don't think about it. You know, and if there's thinking going on, it can only work in the pairs of opposites. Pleasure, pain, happy, sad, me, you, yesterday, tomorrow. That's the nature of the mind. And so that chatter or narration about an alleged me, it's either in the past or it's projecting into the future. And, you know, what is it appearing on? It's appearing on that presence that you are. So you could say the clouds in the sky, they're always moving, you know. But that presence that you are is always
Like
constant.
The sky behind the clouds.
That's is like the sky, or that presence that you are is like the sky, and the clouds are just moving all the time. So no matter what's going on in the chatter, and Bob's pointed out that you're not the story, and Kavisha has, that sky is who you are.
Empty sky.
Empty sky.
Empty sky, absolutely. Joseph? Joseph, here.
Ah, okay. There you go.
Yeah, so before you said something with a dream, or there was the topic with a dream, and which is belief or not reality. And it's quite interesting how, the thought is not reality, the thought is just an imagination of what is maybe not, or what you're dreaming of, whatever that is, and then the topic is to focus on what I'm dreaming is not, which then feels suffering, or the other part is the dreaming is whatever I'm dreaming, which is I would like to experience, and that is like feels nice to dream of. And then the thing is what I realize is that I like to put my dreams into reality, and then it seemed to be like a conflict of what's happening, because last week I was like, oh, this is what the real is and everything is a stream and this is not reality, and then I was like, oh yeah, okay, I can just relax into it. That was last week for me the case, and I could just be, that's it, relax. And then today I was like, oh, but this stream is nice, I would like to experience, should I do something about this or not, or how what should I do with that? Should I of course you could say leave it as it is.
And see doing happens, because should I do or shouldn't I not do?
Yes.
You're not the doer, but the doing happens anyway.
Yeah.
You know, if there is, let's say, if there is a bear chasing to eat you, you won't be deciding and thinking, should I run or should I not run? You'll realize the body's running.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. That's it's more a reaction of it. But to me, it was like that imagination of experience something, or with someone, or whatever that is. It could be different topics, and then looking at that, and it's like, well, where is the fact of the dream is nice, but it's not what is.
Yes.
So that's sort of, what should I do with that to be in peace? Is that more recognizing as what it is?
Yeah, see, when you are watching a beautiful movie, it is like watching a dream.
Yes.
And you fully enjoy it.
Correct.
But you're not necessarily, let's say the movie is happening in a beautiful setting of the mountains, or it's a love story. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be obsessing about being that character and making yourself suffer.
Obsessing.
You enjoy the dream as it shows up, and come back to the place where you're watching from.
Yeah.
To your home, to heart.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I remember I had this beautiful dream. Some people dream about just being, wealthy or handsome or happy or whatever. I had this persistent dream of like collective awakening of the whole world, the new earth when everybody's happy. That's a dream that, first of all, is as imaginary as everything else. It involves future, but it was so enticing, it was so yummy, that I didn't think I will ever be able to drop it. And one day I discovered, oh my goodness, that is so beautiful and so sweet and so unnecessary, because the pure perfection, the life as it is right here, right now. You will see, when you enjoy your desires and your dreams and your visions and your dreams at night as well, you will see that it doesn't mean they all have to come true. They are lived experience already. You know, the consciousness or the awareness experience itself through the imagination as well. You know, you can imagine yourself dancing, being a king on the ball, dancing with the most beautiful princess, and that experience has already been recorded in consciousness. It doesn't have to happen in the physical realm.
Okay, so which means that experience of enjoyment can be also just a dreaming itself.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be lived.
But when you start suffering, that this is not what is here, and when you start desiring, instead of being joy, experiencing like a beautiful music or beautiful movie, it becomes a source of suffering. Oh, I don't have it, I'm not that, I'm not there. So yes, the dream, when it shows up, you can blow it a kiss, you can enjoy it, rather than beating yourself up that, but this is not reality. Yeah, that's correct. So there's two things of the dream. One dream is like, okay, there's the narrative of saying this is what not is, and that's the suffering. And the other thing is, this is a dream which could be possible. Yes.
Should I do something about it or not? Like this is like two parts.
Yes, yes. And you will be moved. The doing will happen when there is a possibility for the doing. When there is, when you are moved, when life moves you. Like, you know, life may move you. A lot of people kind of dream or think about, let's say, leaving a legacy, writing a book, and all of their lives they're fantasized about it, but they don't really, they are not moved about it. Instead of thinking about it, being present, really living the moment fully, and see if there is a movement, and that movement causes action. That is the way of living light, happy, natural life.
Yeah, so that was actually the point where I came, like that sort of movement, and I thought, should I move or not? And sort of that, sort of, because the dream is not like absurd. It's like it can be real.
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying, so that's sort of that. Should I just leave it as that? I mean, that's a decision. It will happen, I guess.
Life will move you. See, this comes from a different place than the head, because, you know, overthinking, you can write down and make a list of pros and cons and all that stuff that psychology will tell you that you can do in that situation. Just think. Or you may land in that place of stillness, in your heart or in your gut, and see if there is an urge, if there is a movement. If there is, wonderful, you may find yourself follow and write pros and cons and plan and do all the other stuff. But instead of just dissipating that energy, that potential energy for movement in thinking, you may gather it, and the action may arise from it.
And also those thoughts you have are just movements that are some result of this kind of pattern over here. And they were only ever going to happen, these particular thoughts. These, is there such a thing as a decision, might be another thought that may or may not happen in your pattern. And it's just an unravelling of the universe here.
Yeah,
that's interesting that that thought or that dream or that imagination was there before. And since we spoke about it, it came up again. So that's where I was like, hang on. What about that? Should I just leave it? Or, you know, that's what came up just then when Bob was talking. So literally then I was like, what about, should I just leave it? Or, you know, there was sort of that thing came up.
And as you say, you actually use Bob's pointer brilliantly. Bob would probably say, leave it unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. And that means sit with that energy, give it unconditionally loving, non-judgmental, curious attention, and that energy will not dissipate. Because if you take it to the head and chat about it, that will just be waste into the chatter. But if there is something happening, if there is something moving, leave it as it is, be present for it, and see if the movement happens or not.
Ah, no, I get it. Okay, so basically, not always walk around everywhere on the street thinking about that and not being present. It's just like recognize that it's there, and then be conscious of it. And if it comes up, then it comes up, or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So I don't have to act straight away on something or think over again.
Overthink, especially overthink.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. I mean, you know, a practical thing.
Yeah.
Simple decision to be made. Instead of making that decisions, we come back to it, and apparently 80% of our thoughts are the same thoughts that we're just chewing on over and over for days and days. That can be cut off radically with just being with the energy. And when the thought is required, when the thought processes are required, they come up and they are utilized in a brilliant way. When the communication is required, when the planning is required, even when the, you know, like a basic sort of a goal setting, that, you know, that whatever, when you were doing your projects, you may need the timeline, you may need the tools, a lot of preparation may be required. But that initial decision, rather than vacillating, should I, shouldn't I, that can just sitting with the energy until decision is made and follow up will spare you from that 85% of thoughts just wasted in the, you know, blown in the funnel. Yeah,
because that's what used to happen. Overthinking, should I, shouldn't I, back and forth. It's like you can actually think about something else.
We can just be present. We can just invest that energy in being totally happy in the natural state, noticing the sunshine, hearing the birds, hugging a boy.
Yes. Okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you. I think we have a couple of comments, a couple of hello messages, and then we have Tanya says, oh, Tracy Lewis says, thank you, Kat, that was incredible. I'm glad that this is helpful. I hope it will unfold and unravel and bring peace. And Tanya says, what if you are not the sensation in the body? Good point. What you are not any passing phenomena. What you are not the sensation in the body. You're not your story, you're not your thought, you're not your feeling, you're not your past. What if you are not anything that comes and goes, like Jane was saying, and Kavisha, the empty sky. You're not any of the clouds. Thank you, Tanya, that's a good point. And Kathy, the clouds are like your thoughts passing through your mind, but you are like the sky that is always there. You are that sense of presence watching the clouds. Sometimes stormy, sometimes light and fluffy, but they pass. You, that I, is always there, always aware. Beautiful. Absolutely. Beautiful, Kathy. Thank you. Yes. Tristan. Yes.
Okay.
This way. Oh, no. I'll just spin it around. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, something that came up today for me is just whenever I'm suffering, I'm noticing it's because I'm trying to move away, not facing something or resistance or I'm trying to find something in another way or get something, and the solution seemed to be to let myself be held by that suffering or that feeling inside, or sink into it, kind of what you're already saying, Kat. Then it's back together, so we're one again, non-dual. So when you're together with it, there's no more tension. So that's a relief. But as soon as you try and grab or push it away or anything, it's like no, it's not. You'll feel it for sure in your, well, for me, in my gut. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah, beautiful.
Anyone else? While I'm up here.
Even the even the residual, like a fear feeling or uncomfortable feeling, might just become like a bit of heat or a bit of, movement, or it probably transits through, this is uncomfortable as well. But
Did you want to say something?
I have a question.
Yeah.
We can't see it. Here. Does it matter?
Shall I sit down? I can sit down.
We can put it up.
When you talk about sort of knowing the awareness, then it feels for me like it's a cognitive exercise versus, a child, you can tell a child, don't put your hand onto the flame because it's hot, and it knows it. But it doesn't know it through the experience. It knows it intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had an experience once, almost 20 years ago, where I got an email at work, and at the end, from a friend, and at the end of the email it said, "God loves you so much." And something happened where I just, for a day and a half, everything was love. People I hated at work, I loved them. And I remember I was like, why do I love him? And even the trees, there was a sense of the tree knows me and I know the tree. And it was just a sense of intense bliss. And I was trying to sort of, didn't want it to go away, but it vanished over time. But that coming back to the flame and to the knowing the awareness is a different thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great point, because we can't know the awareness. The way we speak about awareness, it is just a concept here. Awareness is the capacity for knowing. What we know, like everything that we know with the awareness. Like we know the sensations. We know that we are the awareness of presence. We know that we exist. That knowing is awareness. So we are the awareness. We cannot know the awareness. We are the awareness. And I know.
It feels very heady on some level. It feels
yes.
It doesn't feel experiential. It feels there's a strong cognitive component to it.
Because that's how we are trained to think. We train to take everything to the head. But there is this, I love it, this is the simplest question that Bob asked to people. Do you believe that you exist, or you know it for certain? Do you know it intellectually?
No, I know.
You know it for certain. This is it. Everything else we bring to the head because we were told. I was told I was a woman. I was told I was a girl first. I was told I was Polish. And yes, okay, now I believe I'm woman, Polish, whatever. But the fact of existence, nobody has to tell me. And this is what we point to. But we have to use words, so it always feels like, oh yeah, okay, I'm hearing it with my head. I understand it intellectually, but it's still very, very loaded with thoughts.
Because I'm thinking about it, right? On
yes.
some level I'm thinking about it.
Initially, that's how it happens. Initially, you hear all those pointers, and they feel like, oh my God, my brain is steaming. It's too much to take in. But all those pointers are actually bringing you back to that obviousness of existence. Do I know that I am, or I believe it, or somebody told me? Yeah, I know it. Yeah, but what the big deal about it? This is the enlightenment bullshit. Where is my bliss? Where is my joy? The thing is that staying with that knowing without needing to go to the head and translate it to intellectual knowing, that's the art. But initially it's impossible because everything, that's the only tool we know how to use. We were so conditioned to always look through the interpretation. Everything I see straight away comes with the label, with the name. And everything that I see straight away comes with the meaning. Oh, this is the sofa, I know what it means, what it is made of. All the past comes with it, everything. So to recognize that that overlay of concepts is happening on that basic awareness of being. And coming back to that basic awareness of being. And recognizing that blah blah on top of it it won't bring that sense of bliss straight away, but it will create that ease of the suffering, and the less of that suffering, of that tension, that resentment, and that dissatisfaction, the more kind of like the more relaxation and the more natural appreciation, the more disengagement with that interpreting, with seeing everything through what I know about it, rather than seeing the mystery, rather than just being in that state of I have no idea what it is, I have no idea what I'm going to think, I have no idea what they're going to say, no idea. And the mind is uncomfortable in not knowing. That causes anxiety. That's why we put everything, oh yeah, I know that, I understand that, I hear that, blah blah, and we just kind of sedate ourselves with the knowing, with the narrative. But finding peace with the mystery, with the unknown, and resting that really the only thing everyone knows for sure is the same thing that I know and the same thing that you know for sure, the existence. No matter how many books, how many YouTube videos they've written or read, everyone, all the blah blah is believed in conditioned bullshit. We all in the same boat. You know that you exist. Bob knows that he exists. Buddha, Jesus, everyone know that there exists. Everything else is belief.
And experience. You know, so the mind likes to attach to experiences because it can only work in those parameters. You know, and so when it's told that it's not valid anymore, it goes into a spin. It goes, hang on a minute, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to go here, there, here, there, here, there, here, there. I'm going to figure it all out in the mind. Well, all we can know for sure is that we're not, you know.
What we are not.
What we are not. We can know for sure that what we are not in the mind. But what's that appearing upon? You know that you are. You know for sure that you are. So it's just watching it with amusement, and everything's an opportunity to watch. You know. And
Never-ending TV show.
Never-ending entertainment, yeah.
And just what's coming to mind is how can I forget?
That's wonderful. What you remember and what you forget is part of the blah 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 bullshit.
So I, watched a Who Do You Think You Are show last night, and the woman at the beginning said, well, I can't be royalty. I would know about that. But actually, she ends up finding that, amazing things about her history, including that she is directly descended from William the Conqueror, something she remembers from her history classes. So part of me loves these shows where people discover things about their history. But then when I was sitting here, I was actually thought, actually it's the most important part of who we are is what I'm kind of, there's a so-called history that, you can go through the history, but that part of us, or I don't know how to say this, but, I've forgotten who I am, and at times I've remembered. And I'm not sure why it's so hard, appears hard, to remember who we are. Or
we cannot know that. This is the thing. You see, all the history is content of the dream, and it's a beautiful, super entertaining content of the dream, and it's totally to be appreciated and enjoyed fully. But we cannot know who we are or what we are because we are that. Like, eye can't see itself. The eye, it can see the reflection in the mirror, but that's reflection. That's not the eye. Tongue can't taste itself. The fire can't burn itself because it is itself. So imagine if you were to ever discover who or what you are, where would you be looking from to discover that thing that you are? Obviously, you would have to be looking from somewhere outside it, so you're not that anymore. Now you're that. So how you discover that you're that? You can't ever, that is totally impossible to define and to distinguish what you are, because you are that.
It's like if you have a beautiful painting and you're just absorbing it. You've got a beautiful painting, you're just absorbing it, and there's no thoughts about it. There's just, you're there with the painting, and then 50 people have to write a description all about what that painting is. That's just another painting on the back where somebody's written something down. It's just multiple paintings really, and if we're absorbing, then we're just absorbing.
But what Jane was actually saying, she began to say, we can know what we are not. So everything that changes is within the knowing. Knowing is always there, like the sky. So that's the knowing that I am. The knowing of existence is there. And now the idea, I'm the royalty. Or now the idea, I'll have a sex change, I'll be another sex. Or I'll have nationality change, or whatever. So within that awareness, that empty space, that nothingness, the roles come and go. Today I am, let's say, a fixer. I'm going to be fixing everything. Or tomorrow I'm going to be a seeker. Or maybe next hour I'm going to be a finder. I'll find the truth of what I am. But the fact is, it is the unknown. So the closest we get to it, we say, I am nothing. Nisargadatta says, when I know I'm nothing, this is wisdom. Now is the knowing of being nothing. But what really is the nothing? The no thing. The other part, he says, when I know I am everything, because everything is nothing. Everything, even physics will tell you that, is a potentiality vibrating into forms. So when I know I'm everything, this is love. Now, everything and nothing, totality, within that totality, that consciousness experience itself as the fixer, the seeker, the royalty, the nobody, the everybody. That is, you can say, I am the totality, but how do you know that? That's an assumption, that's a thought. The truth is, you are a mystery, unknowable. The only thing you can ever know is that you are. That you are. Not what you are, but that you exist.
It's just a sense that we're remembering, that we do know,
and
that we do, I know, I've experienced it. I mean, that word know isn't right, but remember how, there's a sense that I'd like to remember. That's why I love those shows, because I'm saying, how could they forget? How could this amazing thing not be passed all the way down? And then I realise that's, I'm just wanting to remember, but not remember those things. It appears I'm enjoying that, remembering, but it's a deeper remembering of what I already know and have experienced, and that is beyond words.
That you can absolutely have a glimpses, or you can have lasting recognition of that you are. The bliss of being, pure bliss of being, where the awareness rests on itself, or the consciousness is delighting in existence. It's the pure light of existence. You still don't, it's not an object, but yes, there is a remembering, non-conceptual. You can't say what it is. You can't put the finger on it. But it's the existence, the being, the pure perfection, the joy, the bliss of the pure perfection of existence. Suddenly it is all clear. But when you start describing it, you're clouding it again. A lot of insights, it will show itself in a way that, suddenly I recognize everything is just one. But now, even the language says, what do you mean, everything one?
That's the mind,
But in the heart, yes, absolutely, that complete oneness, experience of oneness and knowing is available. And you can say it, how could I forget?
Yes, it's kind of like a love of history, but the history...
It's a pure love.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, it explains some, insane sort of, that's so... Why do people forget? Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, they forget because of the bliss of finding. If they haven't forgotten, there would be no awakening.
It sounds like there's a discussion between the relative and the absolute.
Yes.
Can you say something about that?
Well, the basic symbol of today is we are the sky. That is the absolute, in which everything appears. The clouds passing and the rain coming down and all that sort of thing, which is relative. So mostly in our conditioning, we are taught to attach to the relative, to the narratives and to the beliefs and the story about me and my desires and my sort of whatever, and we lose touch with the grounding of existence as the absolute. And that is our problem.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, I was explaining to a young man last night who had never got into this stuff. I said, well, ever since you're a little kid and you're out playing and you didn't really have much going on in your head, and you'd see the tree and you'd see this and you'd see that, and it would just be one spontaneous thing after another. That presence was always there, and that presence is always there. Whatever's going on in the head, that presence awareness is always there, always has been there, will be there till the last breath is taken. And as Tristan said, there's a sort of a watching of that resistance that happens, and the narrative kicking in, and blah blah blah. But then there's a relaxing, as Tony said.
So it reminds me of that saying, be in the world but not of it.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Beautiful. I have a comment from our online community. Yes, so this is from Julie. Yes, Cassie also says, love that pointer. Do I know I exist, or do I believe it? Perfect. It is, isn't it? And now Julie says, the blah blah bullshit arising and passing in my presence somehow keeps the personal self in a state of distress. Personal self can't help but want the distress to leave. Personally feels like living in a paradox. Well, beautifully said. Yes, it is the matter of belief. If the energy of belief, Bob has a really good analogy of talking about, it is not the thoughts, it is not even the self-center, it is a belief in it. So the moment you give those thoughts credibility, presence somehow keeps personal self in a state of distress, blah blah bullshit. See, if you could see it as a bullshit, it wouldn't touch, it wouldn't harm. When you see the narrative, or when you hear it in a funny voice or in some foreign language, when it is not important, when it is not about me, when it is not relevant, when it is not related, it doesn't matter. When the commentary goes on, oh, will I make it to the red light? Oh, it's changing the green light, or blah. This narrative doesn't cause the distress. The personal, relating something, taking as important and personal, believing it, that causes a distress. And you're totally right. Personal self can't help. It isn't even a personal self that wants that distress to leave. It is very, very simple survival strategy. It is a mechanism that keeps that body alive. The body-mind is programmed to survive. So if there is a distress, or if there is a pain, or if there is a suffering, there is a desire for that to end, because that is threatening for the whole system. So it isn't personal self. What we say, there is no personal self. We imagine that there is one, but there really isn't.
It's a persona. It's an
yeah,
image.
and
that
image is not real.
That's right. The image is never the real.
Yeah. So it is really a program that, and it's a healthy program, Julie. It's a healthy program that you want the suffering and the blah blah and the distress to end. That's actually quite sane, I'd say. But recognize it for what it is. It is a program. There is no ego or self wanting it. It's a simple program, and it's a good realization that you see that the bullshit passing through the cloud causes the body to respond. It is because it is believed. When you see it as bullshit passing, without believing it fully, even without believing it half, that will help. And anyone would like to say something before we wrap it up, or please? We have another couple of minutes.
No.
No? Darling, would you like to wrap it up? Oh yeah, that smile wraps it up.
Yeah.
That's good.
Is that?
Yes. Yes, so thank you everyone. Thank you for...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Tony, I'm not going to Coles.